There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch, Michael Byler.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon. There's an ongoing story right now, actually a live story, breaking story, developing as we speak, of a escaped inmate who escaped from a Pennsylvania prison on Thursday. And today there has been at least 3 or 4 verifiable sightings of him. And I want to play a little bit of this developing story, and then we'll talk about it and the danger of having a escaped inmate in your community.
Convicted killer who escaped prison in Pennsylvania last week. Officials today said there's been 4 credible sightings of 34-year-old Danelo Cavalcante since his escape, the most recent yesterday afternoon. Reporter Maggie Kent from our sister station, WPVI, spoke to one man who says he encountered Cavalcante inside his home.
Ryan Drummond's account is absolutely terrifying. He lives within this 2-mile blocked off search area. It is heavily wooded. There's about 270 homes inside. U.S. Marshals, state police here still searching.
I woke up my wife. I said, hey, I think there might be somebody downstairs. Get on the phone.
Ryan Drummond claims he saw Danelo Cavalcante, convicted killer on the run from Chester County Prison for 5 days now, inside of his home on Friday night around 11:45. After hearing rustling downstairs, Drummond says he rushed to his upstairs landing.
What I decided to do was flip the light switch on and off, 3 or 4 or 5 times, pause, and then he flipped the light switch from downstairs 3 or 4 times, which was the moment of like, oh my God, this guy is down there.
After making sure his children were sleeping in their beds, Drummond says he watched Cavalcante walk out of his home.
I saw him walk out of the kitchen and through our living room, kind of along the side, opened up that door, walked out. He was wearing a white shirt, had a bag.
Police arrived, but the man escaped back into the thick wood and brush after taking some food.
Peaches, apples, green snap peas had been missing. We have a bunch of little steak knives. It's possible that he could have also taken one of those.
State police leading this manhunt say there have been 4 confirmed sightings of Danelo Cavalcante within this 2-mile search area around Chester County Prison, with 2 break-ins recorded.
We can confirm that we have investigated actually 2 burglaries.
When asked about Drummond's account, state police remained intentionally vague.
That's within the search area, and yes, we have investigated a number of things within that search area. I don't want to get any more specific.
Danelo Cavalcante was sentenced to life in prison, convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend in 2021. He's also wanted in his home country of Brazil for a 2017 murder. Now, state police and U.S. Marshals are using a recording of his own mother begging him to turn himself in without any incident.
Folks, absolutely terrifying, but something, the gentleman, Mr. Drummond, who said that he heard him in his house, that's not the time to flick the lights. That's the time to grab your 9 or whatever weapon you choose as your Second Amendment and go confront this and shoot this guy in your house. Flicking lights is really sort of lame, I just can't believe that flicking lights was his answer to this. I still have these memories of that inmate who escaped in Texas. In fact, I have a picture of him, and I think you guys will remember this. We covered this story. You remember this savage, Gonzalo Lopez, quite a savage individual, and he escaped from a Texas prison, and while on the run, murdered a family of 5. Do you guys remember that? Murdered a family of 5. And if you remember the lackadaisical nature of the Texas law enforcement and the Texas Department of Corrections in looking for this guy, it was simply baffling that how little they cared or how little effort it seemed that they put in There was a local cop that saw him running across the field, didn't even give chase. And ultimately, this was the guy, Gonzalo Lopez, out a fugitive, out in the public with human beings. He's a savage, was a savage. He was killed by fugitive enforcement, thank God. And this is the kind of situation you have here. You have a guy with nothing to lose because he's facing life in prison and he's wanted for another murder in his home country. So, like, I think that, and hopefully the Pennsylvania police, they always have a pretty good reputation. I hope they're not just sitting back. I hope they're going into the woods. Send in dogs, lots of dogs. Dogs will find this little 5'2" savage. He's 5'2", 120 pounds. Like, please, let's not get too terrified of this fugitive. All right. Yeah, of course he'll use deadly physical force to get away. But you know something? Then you use deadly physical force. Don't go out. Don't confront him unless you got a gun. You know, that's why we have the Second Amendment in this country. You know, this is horrific that in this day and age that prisoners can escape from prison, that they can actually escape. And usually when they escape, there's a lot of gross negligence involved. And I wouldn't doubt it. And I don't know all the circumstances in this case, but I would not doubt that this little savage here, escaped and there's some negligence involved. The way the New York Post described it was a 5-foot-tall, extremely dangerous escaped murderer was spotted over the weekend, and it's now on a residential security camera fewer than 2 miles from the Pennsylvania prison he fled from. Pint-sized, this is how they're tongue-in-cheek, pint-sized perp Danelo Cavalcante, 34 years old, who's serving a life sentence for fatally stabbing his ex-girlfriend, was wearing dark pants, a white t-shirt, and white sneakers when the surveillance camera in Poughkeepsie Township outside Philadelphia captured his likeness around 1:34 a.m. Saturday, 3 days after his escape, according to ABC News. Police said the small fry stabber was also carrying a backpack, although it's unclear where he got it. Someone tried to pull off an attempted burglary in the township around 11:30 p.m. Friday, but cops have said they don't know if it was Cavalcante. He was captured on camera Saturday about 1.5 miles from Chester County Prison near Philadelphia. Cavalcante escaped from the prison just 1 week after his sentencing. Danelo Cavalcante is considered an extremely dangerous man. Chester County DA Deb Ryan said in a statement on Facebook Saturday, "We're asking for the public's help in locating him. Law enforcement is doing everything now to locate him." The top prosecutor added at a press conference requesting the residents in the area of Poughkeepsie Township remain inside. Lock your doors, lock your cars. He's still considered an extremely dangerous individual. There's evidence to suggest that he's still in that local residence. We do not believe. Well, they've caught him since on a bunch of different surveillance cameras. The Brazilian man who speaks Spanish and Portuguese was just starting to serve life without parole for April 2021 killing of his 33-year-old ex, Deborah Brandau, when he escaped. And again, he's also wanted for a 2017 murder in Brazil, the district attorney said. Cavalcante was going to be transferred to a state prison before he escaped, according to ABC. Authorities described him as 5 feet tall and 120 pounds. He has shaggy, curly, black, and brown eyes. Cavalcante is still probably around Route 52 in Poughkeepsie in Pennsylvania, state police said. Federal authorities are picking through a wooded neighborhood of about 271 homes to try to root him out. So there is definitely a manhunt. They are searching the woods. They are searching all the areas around there. This is not advanced rocketry. Go in the woods and find this little pint-sized perp. Now I'm speaking like a news reporter. This pint-sized perp that's escaped from a prison. We could use even more P words to describe him. But again, these are situations that are extremely dangerous for the public because, most people in the public may not have it in them to shoot and kill somebody, But I can assure you, if someone comes into your house, you should shoot and kill them, because they have bad intentions if they come into your house. And here's a guy who escaped from prison. If there's anyone that had worse intentions, here's this guy, Gonzalo Lopez, who in 2022 escaped from a Texas prison. And while hiding in the woods, breaking into homes, killed a family of 5. And basically, after the Texas authorities poo-pawed searching for him and sort of downplayed it, he probably left the area. Guess what? He didn't leave the area. And while in the area, he took the lives of a family of 5 that was going to their hunting cabin. And it just shows you the dangerousness of a state prison inmate. He didn't have to kill these people, but he killed them anyway because he's what's known as a savage, And I say it all the time. A lot of you guys can't fathom evil, but this little guy is evil. He's an evil little fidget, and he's really, they need to catch him immediately. They needed to catch him yesterday. And the longer he's out there, the more dangerous it is for the local people.
Manhunt for an escape killer in Pennsylvania, now in its 5th day. Police confirming today he's been sighted in the same area multiple times. And get this, now they've enlisted his mother to convince him to turn himself in. George Solis explains.
Tonight, 2 days after this doorbell camera video showed escaped inmate Danelo Cavalcante on the run, police announced additional sightings within a 2-mile radius outside the Pennsylvania Chester County Prison, where the convicted killer escaped from Thursday morning.
We have secured that area and continue to actively search it. While there are a number of challenges, we are confident that if he is in there, we will find him.
Pennsylvania State Police are now taking the lead role in the search.
I intend to stress him. I want to push him hard. He'll make mistakes. He'll show himself.
Local resident Ryan Drummond says he saw Cavalcante in his house on Friday.
What I decided to do was flicker the light switch 5 times just to let him.
You should have been flickering your 9mm, not your light switch. You should have been slapping a clip into it and pulling the trigger.
Him know that I knew that he was downstairs. And then he flicked the light back. That was the terrifying moment where I looked at my wife and I said, he's in the house, call 911. We stole some of the produce. We had snap peas, peaches, and apples.
Call 911. How long do you think it's going to take the police to get there? In that time, you could have killed your entire family. I think you have to have a better plan A, sir. And you're probably a good person, a good citizen, a good civilian, but you also have to protect your family. Flicking the lights is not cutting it, and calling 911 isn't going to save. Thank God he fled your home. But if he was a fugitive like Gonzalo Lopez, you wouldn't be so lucky.
5-foot Cavalcante was convicted last month and sentenced to life in prison for the 2021 brutal stabbing of his ex-girlfriend. Authorities say he's also wanted for a 2017 homicide in his native Brazil. U.S. Marshals are also helping in the search.
And this is a heavily wooded area. It's very, very thick back there. There's a lot of hiding spots.
Just, folks, by the way, the U.S. Marshals are excellent. The Fugitive Task Force, Fugitive Enforcement. There's no one else you want helping you to look for an escaped perp or escaped inmate. They are as good as it gets.
Police are playing audio recordings from choppers and patrol cars of Cavalcante's mother, speaking in Portuguese, pleading for her son to turn himself in, as communities just outside the search zone are on edge.
People don't know what to expect. You're on high alert.
I'm not sure if our kids will be back in school tomorrow if they don't catch this guy by tomorrow.
Today, state police reminded residents Cavalcante is extremely dangerous.
He does not want to be caught. He has very little to lose at this point.
George joins us now live from Pennsylvania. And George, I know you have some new reporting on a reward for information leading to the escaped killer's capture. It's around $10,000.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And police say if they encounter Cavalcante and he's not actively surrendering, the use of deadly force has been authorized.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.
So yes, of course, deadly physical force is warranted in this case. You're going after a fugitive. You're going after someone who's already killed one, possibly two people. So yeah, but I'm not trying to make it a light of the fact that this is heavily wooded terrain, and it's at nighttime. It's probably real spooky in there. But something, and he's small. He's 5'2", 220 pounds. That guy could hide. He could hide anywhere. He's so tiny. But as I said earlier, I think one of the most effective things for a search like this is to bring in dogs, bloodhounds, German shepherds, all kinds of dogs. Have them search that. Even dogs barking it's so intimidating for someone who's on the run, someone who's trying to escape. And and I'm sure they have it. How about even drones? Now drones are useless at nighttime, but during the daytime, there he is, this little sympathetic little fidget, and unsympathetic, I should say. But this is no joke. I'm not trying to make light of it. This is a very dangerous individual, and anyone who escapes from a prison has got to be considered extremely, extremely dangerous, especially after having been convicted of a murder and being sentenced to life without parole. It's just, there's Wilesy Pony. That guy was lucky the killer didn't take out his whole family when he flicked his light switch. 100%. I thought Pennsylvania was gun country, I think it is gun country. It's heavy duty hunting country. I don't know what he was thinking. First thing he should have went to was his 9, or any other potentially heavier weapons he has in his home. Then they wouldn't be looking for this Danelo Cavalcante anymore. They'd be having they'd be making death notifications to his family, which no one would be shedding any tears for, perhaps maybe his family. But this is no joke, fugitive enforcement. I'd like to know the circumstances of how he actually escaped from the prison. That's pretty important too. And right now, he's only about 2 hours away from where he initially escaped from. 2 hours. So it's not like he's gone so far. He's within 2 miles apparently of the prison. And I wonder if the residents of this area have had anything like this happen before. I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but if you live near a prison, these things can happen, And so there's another good reason to exercise your Second Amendment. If you live near a prison, I think you should have some guns in your home for personal protection and the protection of your family, Even this 5'2", 120-pound convicted murderer is a threat because he has nothing to lose, and he's evil, and he will not hesitate to use deadly physical force. Therefore, you have to even the playing field by having the appropriate firearms in your home. Don't listen to these tree huggers that tell you guns are bad. No, guns are good, and you have the right to defend your family, to defend yourself, and to defend your home from people like this. So that's why I think it's so important that people understand this, and you would think that a lot of people think that you shouldn't have the right to defend yourself or defend your home, and that's simply not true.
An escaped prisoner in Chester County. Authorities said there have now been 4 credible sightings of Danelo Cavalcante since he broke out on Thursday, leading them to believe he's still in that area. Residents today being told to stay vigilant. Action News reporter Maggie Kent joining us now live in Pocopson Township once again. Maggie, you spoke with a man today who says he saw Cavalcante on Friday?
Absolutely terrifying experience, Brian. Ryan Drummond says that he was inside his home on Friday night. Now, Drummond lives here within this 2-mile search radius, closed to through traffic. All of the neighbors here in this wooded area, 2-mile search area, have been basically locked down since then as U.S. Marshals and state police continue their search.
My wife, I said, hey, I think there might be somebody downstairs. Get on the phone.
Ryan Drummond claims he saw Danelo Cavalcante, convicted killer on the run from Chester County Prison for 5 days now, inside of his home on Friday night around 11:45. After hearing rustling downstairs, Drummond said,
What I decided to do was flip the light switch on and off, 3 or 4 or 5 times, pause, and then he flipped the light switch from downstairs 3 or 4.
To me, this is so scary because here this guy looks like a great guy, a dad, a husband, has a family. His kids are in bed, and this was his response. And I'm not blaming him, but I thank God it ended the way it did, or Danelo Cavalcante fled his home and not chosen to kill somebody or kill the family. And it very well could have happened
4 times, which was the moment of like, oh my God, this guy is down there.
After making sure his children were sleeping in their beds, Drummond says he watched Cavalcante walk out of his home.
I saw him walk out of the kitchen and through our living room, kind of along the side, opened up that door, walked out. He was wearing a white shirt, had a bag.
Police arrived, but the man escaped back into the thick wood and brush after taking some food.
Peaches, apples, green snap peas had been missing. We have a bunch of little steak knives. It's possible that he could have also taken one of those.
State police leading this manhunt say there have been 4 confirmed sightings of Danelo Cavalcante within this 2-mile search area around Chester County Prison, with 2 break-ins recorded.
We can confirm that we have investigated actually 2 burglaries.
When asked about Drummond's account, state police remained intentionally vague.
That's within the search area, and yes, we have investigated a number of things within that search area. I don't want to get any more specific.
Again, Cavalcante was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison just 2 weeks ago. He's convicted of murdering his ex-girlfriend in 2021, and he's also wanted in his home country of Brazil for a 2017 murder. All that to say, investigators say this man is extremely dangerous. You should not approach him, and they say they are here out in force. So if you do give them a call, if you do have a sighting, they'll be there within moments.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to count on anyone else but myself in a situation like this. Yeah, the police will be there in moments, as it's just not true. And I don't understand also why in these situations the police don't give out all the information that they have. There's no reason for them to withhold information. He's within a 2-mile radius. Let's let everyone know. They did the same thing in Texas with Gonzalo Lopez, and we know what happened with that. They weren't giving out information, and this savage killed a family of 5 while he was on the run. So let's share the information. This is not an investigation. This is you're trying to capture this guy, all right? He's already going to be doing life in prison, so let's let the community know, potentially where he is, where you've cited him, so that they can take appropriate action to protect themselves and their family, because no one else is going to protect you but yourself. People think that the police are going to be there in 10. That's not true. You don't know how long it's going to take them to get there. And in the meantime, how long does it take for someone to kill you? Not very long, and I don't mean to be crass or harsh, but this is the reality of this, and I think, again, the police need to be forthcoming with every bit of the information they have, because, again, this is not a secretive investigation. This is going after an escaped prisoner from a state prison.
Manhunt for convicted killer Danelo Cavalcante. He's been on the run since escaping from the Chester County Prison since last Thursday. And now state police are leading the search efforts at the request of the district attorney. I'm Jason Martinez.
I'm Sheba Russell. Investigators say there have been at least 4 credible sightings of Cavalcante, the most recent yesterday afternoon. Our Ellen Kaloje live in Westchester with more on where things stand today, Ellen.
Yeah, as you said, 5 days into this manhunt and still no sign of that fugitive, but police have now narrowed their search to a 2-mile radius just beyond this point, and police say they are confident that this killer will make a mistake very soon.
He is desperate. He does not want to be caught. He has very little to lose at this point.
Convicted killer Danelo Cavalcante continues to evade police despite hundreds of investigators searching by foot and by air around the clock ever since he escaped from the Chester County prison Thursday.
I intend to stress him. I want to push him hard. He'll make mistakes. He'll show himself. He's already shown himself, we believe, a few times. We'll contain him and we will eventually catch him.
State police say there have been 4 sightings of the fugitive within a 2-mile perimeter off not far from the jail. The most recent sighting Sunday near Water Glen Road.
Gave chase but was unable, because of the terrain and some other obstacles there, was unable to get to him before he disappeared.
Authorities say there have been 2 break-ins at houses where no one was home, and they cannot confirm it was Cavalcante, but they have their suspicions, and they're asking people just within that 2-mile radius to avoid the woods and use extra precaution.
I'm really concerned that they haven't found him yet, and concerned that he might not even be there. So it's, it's a little unnerving that it's been 5 days now, and the road's been closed for the 3rd day, this area.
This is a 5-foot tall gentleman, 120 pounds, and this is a heavily wooded area. It's very, very thick back there. There's a lot of hiding spots. There's a lot of ravines back there.
Officials say they're meeting with school superintendents to see if they need to make any changes to student schedules or bus routes. Police say the last time he was spotted, he looked disheveled and dirty. So they're even blasting a message from his mother in Portuguese, begging him to surrender. And they want to assure neighbors they believe the end is near.
I understand their fears, but we are doing everything. We're bringing in all the experts in this area. We have the top men and women working round the clock to bring this man to justice. And we're not going to stop until he's captured. And we hope we're getting closer.
So police want to reiterate that they believe if you are outside this perimeter, you don't have too much to worry about. Westchester University will hold classes tomorrow. Longwood Gardens is open again. But we want to mention again that there is a $10,000 reward. And police say with people coming back after the long Labor Day weekend to check your Ring camera, to check your house if anything's missing or seems out of place, to please contact police immediately. We're live in Pocopson Township. Ellen Kaloje, Fox.
So again, it's been 5 days and they don't have him yet. All of the assurances to me don't mean shit till you have this guy. I don't want to hear how many people you have. I don't know how experienced you are. I don't want to hear how many people are looking for him. All I want to hear is that you caught him. I want to hear success. I want to hear that he's in custody. Because all that other stuff doesn't help. It doesn't help at all when you have people like this. And again, that's Gonzalo Lopez. That was in 2022. Escaped from a Texas prison. We all remember that. Escaped from a Texas prison and killed a family of 5 while he was out at large. And I heard some of the same things from the Texas state prison people. I heard some of the same things from the local law enforcement. And the bottom line was that he was out there in the woods. And they would just say, oh, will surface. He'll come out. So, no, guess what? He didn't come out. He was hiding in people's homes, which is extremely scary, hiding in people's homes. And eventually, again, the community, corrections, and even the police, because he was on the run for so long, they sort of let their guard down. And they almost felt that, oh, he's no longer a threat anymore, or he left the area. he's not around anymore. So that wasn't true. He, in fact, was around, and he was in the area. And as proof of that, he murdered a family. He murdered a family of 5, and I will never forget that. That was one of the worst cases we covered in 2022. Just horrific, and in my mind, it could have been prevented if they were more aggressive in going into the woods after him. And I can't say I was not on the scene, but guess what? You're judged by your results, and the results were horrible. Again, so they have to get into the woods with this guy. Don't sit and wait for him to come out. And the other thing is, and I spoke about it earlier, dogs, German shepherds, bloodhounds. Perps hate dogs. They're terrified of dogs. Send every damn dog in the county into that 2-mile square where he was last seen. Because trust me, they are terrified of dogs. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories. If you like real crime, true crime from a police perspective, then you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell. If you want to support us financially, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels, and we also have a YouTube channel membership with, count them, 5 different levels. And you see the folks in the green font. They're part of our YouTube friends, family, and subscribers, and they've been supporting this channel. So yeah, I just I still feel the pain from that Gonzalo Lopez case, and I'll put his picture on the screen again. And luckily, after he killed that family of 5, after he escaped from prison where he was serving 2 life terms, and the lackadaisical nature of the Texas Department of Corrections defies description. That this guy was able to escape, and he actually had help. He had help in getting him, allowing him to escape that prison. And then he thought he was a real tough guy, and he thought he was going to shoot it out with fugitive enforcement, and it was fugitive enforcement 1, Gonzalo Lopez 0. They took him down in a hail of bullets, and thank God that you have people like that do that kind of work and go up against the most dangerous of the dangerous out there. Wild Z Pony says she's so frustrated that I'm not in charge of this manhunt. Well, I've been on a number of manhunts in my career, and I'll watch it right from here. But years ago in New York City, some real bad perps killed a New York City cop named Russell Timoshenko. And they fled. A couple of them fled into Pennsylvania. And they sent a lot of New York City detectives to go after these guys, as well as fugitive enforcement, as well as the Pennsylvania State Police. And they caught these perps, and they were brought back. And I think my buddy, Mikey Heinrichs, one of the most highly decorated NYPD detectives, was involved in the apprehension of one of them. So we're not at all playing down how difficult this is and how difficult it is to go into a wooded area, especially finding a guy who's 5'2" tall, who could be hiding in nooks and crannies and trees, underneath a house, underneath leaves, anywhere. But again, he is, even though he's a savage, he's a human being, and he can't stay out in the woods at night. It probably gets freezing cold. There's bugs, there's mosquitoes. You're subjected to all kinds of different types of animals. So he's not going to be able to stay out there. He may at some point give it up and surrender. He, at least in prison, he gets 3 square meals a day and a place to sleep. Maybe he's figured out that it's not so much fun being outside the prison when you're not free, and he's on the run, and he's got people chasing him. So it's Let me play a little of this.
Tonight after escaping from the Chester County Prison on Thursday. Today, authorities released another wanted poster for Danelo Cavalcante. He is 5 feet tall, weighs 120 pounds, and has long, dark, curly hair. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Kim Hudson spoke to nervous residents whose lives have been turned upside down.
This afternoon, the Chester County DA told us they now have what they call additional law enforcement assets, joining the multiple agencies already looking for this escaped prisoner. I want you to go ahead, take a look behind me. Right now, this is on Lenape Road at Street Road. Police have this area cut off. No one but residents and workers in or out. Just west of here, families are even changing their weekend plans.
My daughter was going to celebrate her 21st birthday today.
But David Roper of East Marlboro Township lives less than 2 miles from Chester County Prison. He and his wife canceled that party.
We just didn't want to have the whole family here and run the risk of anything happening.
This is day 3 since Danelo Cavalcante left the Chester County Prison Thursday morning. He was sentenced to life in prison for killing his former girlfriend. He is also wanted for murder in Brazil. Saturday, Cavalcante was seen on home surveillance video that was on Lenape Road near Water Glen Drive. And now Roper says he and his wife are on a buddy system.
We aren't leaving the house unless both of us are going out or one of us is spotting the other. We're leaving all the doors locked, the windows locked.
The longer Cavalcante is at large, the farther the worry spreads. In Chadds Ford, 15 minutes away from the prison, owners and customers at Brandywine View Antiques are also taking precautions. Stephanie and Patrick Morris are checking over their Broomall home every night.
I'm making sure the windows and doors are locked and closed, especially on the first floor. Seeing if my dog is willing to bark at things.
Shop owner Lisa Bonderstruck says neighbors are helping older residents who are sheltering in place.
They're bringing food, checking on each other, and being a holiday weekend, a lot of people are away, so their neighbors are actually checking on their homes. But something should be done. This man shouldn't be running around anymore.
And there have been other effects too. Longwood Gardens continues to be closed until further notice. If you see Danelo Cavalcante, police say to call 911 immediately, not to approach him. They say he is considered to be extremely dangerous.
You know, it's just, and I don't mean to make light of this, and I'm happy that the people are helping each other. But I'm surprised someone's saying, I'm making sure I got ammo for my shotgun. I'm making sure I got extra clips for my knife. I haven't heard one person say that. Everyone's talking about, I'm making sure I have food. I'm making sure the windows are locked. I mean, come on. This guy's escaped from prison. He's a murderer. I think that we need to do a little more than check our windows to see if they're locked, you know. He's out there, and you know, the police are out there looking for him. The Fugitive Enforcement Division is out there looking for him. So it's, I don't know, it's baffling to me that, and again, I don't mean to criticize people, but this guy, you know, this person could take your life, you know, and that part of this is extremely real. You know, it's extremely real that this could happen. We've seen it happen before, and it could happen again. And I think people have to take it more seriously and arm themselves, not check your windows to see if they're locked. Make sure your cell phone's charged so you can call the police. You know, this is what, you know, whatever your feelings are about gun control or Second Amendment, this is why we have the Second Amendment. People like this individual.
Resource and asset to track his location. Local, state, and federal authorities are working around the clock to find him, and we will not stop until he is in custody. Law enforcement is still utilizing helicopters, drones, and dogs, and we believe that he is still in the general area. There is no evidence at this time to suggest that anyone has helped facilitate this escape or is assisting him at this time. We believe that he is hiding somewhere locally and that he is alone. The U.S. Marshals are actively involved in this manhunt. They are the best in the business at apprehending fugitives, and we are extremely confident in their abilities to capture him soon. Currently, we are looking everywhere in the area, including railways, the Brandywine Creek, and every area that may be a route out of Chester County. We have reason to believe that he is heading south, and we will find him no matter how long it takes. We are still seeking the public's help in our investigation. If you see anything suspicious, please contact 911, regardless of how small or what you may perceive to be insignificant. We still have a tip line available. You should call 911 or you should call the U.S. Marshals tip line at 877-WANTED-2. There is a $10,000 reward for any information that can be used in the capture of this fugitive. Again, we have every reason to believe he is considered dangerous at this time. Do not approach him. We ask the public to call 911 immediately. We will continue to update the public as soon as we have information to share, and we thank you for all the tips that we have received. We have investigated each and every tip that you have submitted to us. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Troop Commander Captain Wagner.
Thank you. So my name is Captain Bob Wagner, and I'm the commanding officer of Troop J Lancaster, which includes Chester County. The state police is committed to working with our local Chester County law enforcement partners and the U.S. Marshals Service to capture this convicted murderer and put him back in prison. We've had boots on the ground and state police resources deployed since the onset, and I could assure you we plan on going nowhere until he is captured. We have no reason to believe he's left the area. Please be vigilant and report any suspicious activity. We need your help. Please check your cars and your outbuildings for any signs of criminal activity. If you see anything suspicious, report it.
You know, folks, one of the things, even on a national level and just as a cultural thing almost, is these ring cameras are fantastic. So many ring cameras across this country have caught criminals on the cameras and have assisted law enforcement tremendously. And if you own a home or an apartment, I advise you to invest whatever it is, $200 and get a ring camera. They're invaluable. They really are, and they can increase your security as well as help law enforcement in the event of something like this. And it's a real great security investigative tool as well as a deterrent.
We ask that you also check your home video cameras. If you see any footage on there that's suspicious, please report it to us. I want to reiterate, this man is very dangerous. If you see him, don't approach him and call 911. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. Next, I'd ask to call to the podium Rob Clark, who is the supervisor of the Fugitive Task Force for the U.S. Marshals.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Clark. I supervise the Fugitive Task Force out of Philadelphia.
You know, guys, just so you know, the Fugitive Task Force are the best in the business. They are, as far as looking for people, there is no one better than them. And any law enforcement agency that needs their help, they're ready, willing, and able to help at a moment's notice. And they're the real deal. They talk the talk and they can walk the walk.
Philadelphia. And yesterday, late afternoon, we were asked to assist in the apprehension of Mr. Cavalcante. I can tell you that an escape warrant was issued for him. Our Fugitive Task Force adopted that warrant, and we're here supporting the Chester County CID as well as the state police. Like Captain Wagner said, we're in this for the long haul. We have no reason to believe Mr. Cavalcante's left the area. However, if he does, the U.S. Marshal Service has a long arm to touch anyone in this country or its territories, and we plan to do so. We will stop at nothing until we bring him back into custody and support our state and local partners. I also reiterate what Captain Wagner said about being vigilant, about checking your property, check your neighbor's property. It's Labor Day weekend coming up. People are going out of town. If you have neighbors that are out of town, make sure their property is secure, make sure they're not missing anything, vehicles, modes of transportation, bicycles, anything that could assist our fugitive of getting out of the area. We have nothing to believe, nothing that says he's gone. So we're going to assume that he's in the area. We're going to keep the Marshal Service assets here, the state police assets, and all our local assets here as well. In addition, the DA said we have a $10,000 reward. That's $5,000 offered from the county and $5,000 from the U.S. Marshals. We'd encourage people to call 911 for immediate response to tips, as well as the 877 Wanted 2 hotline and the usmarshals.gov website to register a tip. Thank you.
We're happy to take some questions at this time. Yes.
Can we talk about why or what leads law enforcement to believe that he has not left the area?
We don't have any evidence to suggest that he has left, so we believe that he's somewhere nearby. Yes.
What should neighbors be doing? What should residents be doing? I've talked to people who are concerned that they're not exactly sure. Should I be having this Labor Day party? I know Westchester University canceled their classes just a few hours ago. So how should people be behaving this weekend?
I think people need to be on high alert. This person is dangerous. He has killed someone. He is alleged to have killed another person. So people need to take every precaution possible. Lock your doors, keep your eyes on your kids, and keep your eyes on your neighbors and your friends. I don't know what to suggest regarding neighborhood activities or barbecues for the weekend, but everyone needs to be on high alert.
What makes you believe that he's headed south?
So when he murdered Deborah Brandow in 2021, he headed toward Brazil. We have evidence to suggest that he was captured in Virginia, but the ultimate goal was to go to Mexico and then to Brazil, which is his native country.
Can you offer any insight into how you believe he may have gotten out of the prison, considering it's done, he already got out? Any information you can reveal about that?
So at this time, I don't. We're still investigating that. The Chester County detectives have been vigilant in doing interviews and reviewing video surveillance, but we will have an update at some point on that.
Yeah, because that involves two different agencies. If it was like a transport situation or if it was an incarceration in the jail itself, can we even say where he was?
It occurred at the prison.
He wasn't being transported anywhere?
Not at the time, no.
Can you confirm that, so the prison realized he was missing at 9 a.m. and he was called, someone reported that he was out walking at 9:30. Was there a search in progress before that report was made?
I don't know the specific time frame as to when they first notified anyone that he was missing or when they found out that he was gone. So I know that we have a confirmed identification of him walking on Wawasset Road at 9:40.
We understand that he gained access to a ladder at the prison. Have there been steps to alter security or make sure things are secure at the county jail?
Jim, there's no evidence that there was a ladder used in his escape.
Given that he was sentenced to life in prison, number one, why was he still in custody in Chester County for over a week? And also, were there any additional security measures being taken given that he was a confirmed flight risk previously?
So it's normal protocol to keep someone who has been recently convicted for at least 30 days in case they file a post-sentence motion of some kind. And after that occurred, he would be transported to a state correctional institute. And at the time that he was still awaiting to be transported, there was no evidence that.
You know, so folks, one of the things is that they have reason to believe they've caught him on a couple of ring cameras that he's in this area that's about 2 miles from the state prison that he escaped from. So obviously, with enough manpower, you can do what's called a grid search of that 2 mile area. And I'm not making light of it or acting as if it's an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And you heard the law enforcement personnel here, the Fugitive Enforcement Division, and this district attorney, that they're using every resource they have. Drones, helicopters, dogs, which hopefully would include bloodhounds, German shepherds. At nighttime, you know, you would think that as we learned with Gonzalo Lopez broke into houses and was staying in houses. And that's how he was able to survive. There's a picture of Gonzalo Lopez, and I keep referring to him because in 2022, he escaped from a Texas prison. And, you know, days later, they were saying, oh, we're going to catch this guy. It's just a matter of time. And then in a week or two, they were saying, oh, he fled the area. He's no longer around. We have reason to believe, which was totally incorrect. And they almost sort of let their guard down and encourage people to come back into the area. And sure enough, people came back into the area and he wasn't gone. He was still around, staying in empty homes in this area that was used for a lot of hunting homes. And sure enough, while out, he killed a family of 5. So we don't want to see anything like that happen in this situation. We want to make sure that the pressure is kept on, that they look for him every minute, every second of the day, and keep the pressure on. Because as I said, these people are extremely, extremely dangerous. And even though he's 5'2" tall, and I'm sure physically he doesn't seem like a threat, but he's a convicted murderer, and he'll do whatever he has to do to stay free, to be free. He doesn't want to go back to prison. That's why he escaped. He jumped over a wall or however he got out of there. So people have to realize that this is an escaped inmate, and he will do whatever possible. That's why I said, Pennsylvania is big time hunting country. You would think they'd interview some people that were like, I'm ready for him. Someone said in the chat before, should people flee the area? I never recommend you flee your home because someone dangerous is out there. I would rather arm, and make sure I was prepared rather than, flee my home because this murderer is now at large. It's pretty despicable. I think that, we have to have that American spirit of defending our homes, defending our families, not let's run to the next town. Let's get out of here till they capture this guy, So yeah, I think that people should take that spirit of, no, I'm gonna stay and fight, and I'm gonna protect my family, I'm gonna protect my home. And I'm not hearing Brad R. I'm armed and I'm not leaving. Yeah, that's what I want to hear more of, because then people would realize it's not just the police that I have to worry about. It's the civilians I have to worry about. And, if the civilians came across as, deputized law enforcement, this little guy would be terrified to break into these homes, But a lot of these prison inmates, they think, oh, yeah, I'm afraid of police, but I'm not afraid of civilians because, they're terrified of me because I'm a criminal, But not all civilians, let them come against an Afghanistan or Iraqi war veteran, and I don't think he would do too well, So
That he was considered a flight risk.
Can you confirm there was another inmate that escaped from that prison a couple months ago? We have a neighbor who said it happened and he hid in his shed and he was caught. Can you confirm that happened?
I cannot. I don't have that information.
I know details are limited and I respect that, but is there any indication he acted alone or had assistance in getting out of the prison?
We have no evidence at this time to suggest that he had help from anyone.
So who can confirm that happened then? Who do we contact when we have several neighbors who said that happened, that there was another prisoner who escaped from this jail a couple of months ago?
I am aware that there was a previous escape. I can't give you details about that. I would suggest contacting the acting warden, Howard Holland.
That's pretty damn sloppy. Here's a prison. They're talking about 2 escapes in a short period of time. That's not good. Usually if there's an escaped prisoner from a prison, it's a big deal, and heads are lopped off. In essence, they figure out who's responsible. That person is severely punished, and potentially the boss can be sanctioned, and even the warden, the prison warden. It goes on the warden's record that, oh, you had 2 prisoners escape in 2023. I think maybe we should transfer you, because that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have on your record. It's not a good thing. It's not a good look for the community. It's not a good look for the prison. It's not a good look for the law enforcement around there that has to worry about prison inmates escaping from a state prison. So yes, all of that is bad. It's not a good thing.
But you can confirm that it happened.
It did happen, yes.
When someone's given a life sentence, clearly they're a flight risk. Is there a part of the prison that is designed to hold someone who may be a higher level flight risk? Is that?
As far as I understand it, he was in the maximum security area of the prison.
Can you talk about a little more detail about how the manhunt works, like what the process is for looking for him and what challenges the local landscape might create in finding him?
You know, I'm going to defer to the U.S. Marshals to address that.
So we don't want to talk about how we go about our investigative techniques and tip our hand to Mr. Cavalcante, but I can tell you this, that the state police and the Marshal Service are dedicated to staying here until we bring him into custody. It just wouldn't be appropriate to tell you exactly the investigative measures that we're using. I think the DA said already there are numerous helicopters flying throughout the night using different types of surveillance techniques to try to locate him, and we're just using every possible asset that we have to search the immediate area until we can prove that he's either here or that he's not here. It should also be noted, the DA said as well, not to approach Mr. Cavalcante. There's also a murder warrant for him out of Brazil. So the Brazilian authorities have a homicide warrant for him as well, relating to a 2017 murder, which he fled Brazil to Puerto Rico and then entered the country illegally. So this is a very, very dangerous man. And I think that's the reason why you see such dedication here from the state police, the Marshal Service, and all our state and local partners. It's not just one homicide warrant that he was sentenced here for life sentence, but he also has an active warrant out of Brazil for 20.
I mean, is that not concerning to most people that here's this guy, he's a murderer, he's wanted for murder in Brazil, yet he just enters our country as if it's he's taking Amtrak, you know? Pretty scary. Who vets people that come into this country? Who checks the background of people that come into this country? Obviously no one, because this guy just came in and he's a murderer. Wanted for a murder in Brazil in 2017, and then does another murder in this country. So I think that is a little bit concerning. And again, people say, oh, don't get, I'm not getting political. This is just the reality. And is that what we do? Is that what we do? We just let people come into this country that are killers and yeah, come on in. Sure, no problem. I think that's a little bit concerning, a lot concerning. And I think that when he is caught, and of course we know he's going to get caught, hopefully sooner than later, and we hope that it happens really fast, maybe even tonight, you know. They have those helicopters with those infrared lasers that they can spot someone even at nighttime. So if he's outside, they would be able to spot him even at night through these heat-seeking devices. And of course, they would get boots on the ground to go to the exact location where they see this thermal image and potentially catch this little short little murderer, you know, and end his short little life of an escapee from a state prison. And all stops are off. They've got full court press, as we would say. We put a full court press on this. We got everyone out there: state police, fugitive enforcement, local police, corrections. Maybe corrections knows something about, how about the investigation part of this inside corrections? How about talking to his cellmates? Although they may not talk, but you never know. Sometimes people talk because they want to cut themselves a deal. What did he say? Did he make any indication that he was going to escape? Where might he go? You know, all this, these are all questions that potentially we could find out the answers to by investigation. And that's why, of course, the head of the Fugitive Enforcement Division said, we're not going to tell you what our techniques are. We don't want to give it up to Danelo Cavalcante, how we're going to capture him, what we're doing to look for him, what investigation techniques we're using. So we just have to sort of accept the fact that they're doing the best they can. And that's not always true, as we saw in Texas with Gonzalo Lopez. And I'm sorry I keep referring back to that man, but that was one of the most despicable investigations despicable escapes from a prison I've ever seen that resulted in such tragedy. And I don't want to see tragedy in this case. I want to wake up tomorrow morning and hear that he was captured. You know, I don't want to hear that he's still out there.
2017 murder as well.
Speaking of Brazilian authorities, have they been notified about his escape locally, and are they assisting at all?
They have. We've reached out to the Brazilian attaché. They are aware that Mr. Cavalcante has escaped custody. It's up to them whether they're gonna pursue the provisional arrest warrant or not. I think they're contemplating that now, but they have been made aware.
Rob, do you have any words about perhaps anybody in this community who may be thinking of assisting this man?
Don't do it. You'll get charged. You know, anyone who impedes this investigation, without a doubt, the dedication that we have through the DA's office and through the Pennsylvania State Police, you're going to get charged with obstructing justice. You're going to be charged with whatever we can. I would suggest to associates, family members, whoever may be in touch with Mr. Cavalcante, do the right thing, contact law enforcement, because if we find out that you impede this investigation, you'll be part of it and you'll be on the criminal side.
Rob, going off of that, do you have any indication that he has contacted any family members or friends in the Phoenixville area?
We don't want to comment on that. Even if we did have that information, we wouldn't share it. We're just
talk about the size of the search today.
I can tell you this: we're searching the immediate area. Everywhere in the immediate area here in Chester County, we are going through every nook and cranny, responding to every tip that we get in, and diligently following up on places we may believe he may be believed to be hiding. So it's a thorough search of the Chester County area, and I believe that's why the DA is just asking the community to be vigilant. Don't be scared. Be vigilant. Check your stuff. Check your neighbor's stuff, because if he's hunkered down, sooner or later, he's going to have to rear his head. And that's when we want those tips to come in, because we will have a reaction force to come out and arrest him.
Can you say how many tips you've received since this all started yesterday?
How many tips we received, Captain?
I tell you, it's been quite a few. I don't have the exact number on hand, but I would say it's over 30 at this point, maybe 40.
We're just told over 100. I'm hearing.
I believe it's I thought it was about 100 myself. Some of them are lookalikes. Some of them we've found to be not credible. Somebody in Maine said, "I thought I saw him at the gas station driving." You know, in Maine. Said, "I thought I saw an individual looking like him driving a red Ford Focus." And, you know, some of those we have to dismiss because we have to look at the credibility of some of these tips.
And how many law enforcement would you say? Hundreds, dozens? How many people are?
There's hundreds up here. Yeah.
A question on law enforcement. I'm with the Chester County Association of Township Officials, and we're getting emails and calls from PDs saying, how do we get our people to help? Do we refer them to someone in particular, or do we advise them that they should stay in their jurisdiction and work that territory?
In my opinion, the state police has very adequately staffed this operation. They have everyone from their emergency response team, people up here, their BCI investigators. They've deployed every possible resource in the state that they can afford up here. The Marshal Service, through the task force in Philadelphia and through Allentown, have expended all of our investigators. So at this time, we're not asking for any help. I'd ask them to stay in their own jurisdictions. You know, God forbid we get a tip there, we'll need them out to investigate those tips.
I have one question. I spoke to neighbors who were a little bit concerned about the timeline and how quickly they were notified that someone was missing. They were concerned that it had been hours before they got an update from the text messages.
You know, in these situations, I want to know as a civilian, as a citizen, that law enforcement is going to notify me immediately. There's no secret squirrel shit in an escaped prisoner. You got to let people know everything, because it's not like they're keeping investigative information close to the vest. You want the community to know that this guy's out there, where he is. If he's in a 2-mile radius, you want the community to know that, so they can avoid it, or if they're within that 2-mile radius, they can take appropriate actions to keep themselves and their family safe. So let's not, like, you know, I hate when, in these instances, when law enforcement tries to keep it close to the vest. I think you use the community and the public as an ally in this, so that they're calling you, they're checking their ring cameras, they're hyper vigilant to anything that may happen. And that's how you're going to capture this guy. Not just law enforcement, which of course I believe law enforcement is going to capture him, but use the community, use the civilians, use the population as your eyes and ears out there, because it quadruples or times 10 the amount of law enforcement people you have when you have the public working on your behalf.
And they weren't able to hear that air raid warning that goes off and the siren that goes off. So is there any explanation about this timeline and why it took so long for neighbors to hear? Also, any thoughts about updating technology and further to get those words out to the girl?
So good question. I don't know the answer to that, frankly. We're looking into that to see why there was a delayed response. But as far as I understand it, as soon as the prison was aware that he had escaped, they followed their direct protocol and notified the appropriate authorities and corresponding agencies. But we'll look into that further. There was a reverse 911 call that was placed. I was told that not every resident received that call. So we're going to look into that and see why that happened. And I don't have an answer at this time.
Deb, I know you can't give a lot of information about this given for safety reasons, but in terms of Deborah Brandau's family, have they been contacted by your office? And if so, I mean, how are you handling the situation?
They are safe. They were told immediately. That was the first call that I made as soon as I found out. So we have no reason to believe that they are in jeopardy in any way. Our impression is that this defendant wants to flee south. I don't have any indication that he has any reason to go after the Brandau family at this time.
And you mentioned that there's no evidence that he's left the area. So I guess we should ask, is there any evidence that he's still in the area at this time?
I can't comment on that, Jim.
Where was the initial report made when he was first spotted?
From yesterday when he was first? So it happened on Wawasett Road by someone who was going into the prison who works at the Chester County Justice Center.
Is that the last positive sighting?
As far as I know, I think so. Yeah,
How far from the prison was that?
right down the road.
Right down the road?
Yes,
Between here and.
correct.
And this is going off of Jim's question, but I have to ask, has his prison attire been located?
Not to my knowledge, no. No.
Is the prison still on lockdown?
No, it's not. I think we had inmates transferred to the Justice Center today for hearings. Yeah.
That Maggie asked, Maggie, you asked about us notifying the public. I can tell you this, the Marshal Service now is in the midst of trying to do a social media blast to the Chester County area. So some of you and some of the residents of Chester County may start seeing on our social media Mr. Cavalcante's picture, wanted poster, and information come up on that. We have very good relationships with our social media outlets, and we're asking them to start blasting that out as soon as today. In addition, you may see Mr. Cavalcante's face appear on your local bulletin boards or digital bulletin boards along the major highways here as well. So that's what we're doing as far as social media and digital networking. In addition, we are preparing notification cards, so to say. I don't want to call them baseball cards, but they're wanted cards that we can hand out to the public and that we'll be dispersing to the immediate area probably over the weekend with his identifiers, very similar to our wanted poster.
Does anyone foresee revisiting the policy of holding someone sentenced to life in county jail for 30 days? I don't believe any other county does that. SCI Phoenix isn't that far away. Would you consider maybe holding a life sentence or significant sentence in a maximum security state penitentiary?
So that's certainly an interesting thing to broach with the prison. I was not aware that other facilities didn't handle it the same way, so I'll look into that.
So, folks, I mean, at least the police and the community is being somewhat forthwith on and forthright, giving out information on the search, the investigation. They're being a little secretive about where they think he is right now, and I think they believe he's within this 2-mile square area that they've more or less frozen down, and they have all the resources targeting that specific area. Schmitty, thank you so much for the $2 super sticker. If I was alone and unarmed, I would leave. Well, that's always an option, you know. as I said, and I've said it numerous times through this show, is that this is a really super, super serious matter because, again, I'll put him up on the screen again. That's Gonzalo Lopez, who escaped a Texas prison in 2022. And the incompetence level of the search and of the Texas Department of Corrections was beyond description. The PR guy he was like Baghdad Bob with the information he was giving. You guys remember Baghdad Bob that was giving out information during the Iraqi war. That's what this guy was like. And then a week stretched into 2 weeks, and all of a sudden people were like, whoa, they didn't capture this guy. And then they were saying, oh, he fled the area. He's no longer. Start coming back into the area. Start coming back into your hunting camps and homes. And people started listening to the authorities, and Gonzalo Lopez killed a family of 5 while escaping from a Texas prison where he was serving 2 life terms. So this is no joke. This is quite dangerous. This is quite serious situation. And look, until he's in custody, we have to take this extremely seriously. And I think they are. They have all the resources they need. And fugitive enforcement, of course, is on the scene. And they're one of the most important units that could be there.
Anyone else have any
Just
questions?
a minor question. Where in Brazil is he from? Where did that initial murder take place?
I don't recall the province of the area.
Give him a message for him. I doubt he's watching TV right now, but what would you say to him if he was in front of you?
I want to say to him, we are going to find you, we're going to prosecute you, and we're going to keep you behind bars for the rest of your life.
And then once he is, I'm assuming he's captured, is he brought back to the facility or is he transported out of there at that point?
So he will be transported back here. His attorneys just filed a post-sentence motion today. So if and when he is captured, we will have to litigate that in front of the sentencing judge in this matter.
What does the motion seek? Can you say?
They're asking for relief for either a new sentence or a new trial.
And just lastly, U.S. Marshals and other state police as well. Is the FBI also assisting?
We've been in contact. Yes.
You can
So, good afternoon. My name is Dave Sass. I'm the Chief County Detective. We have been in touch with the FBI. They've offered their assistance with some of their assets, and we're in constant communication with them. Yes. We good?
If there are no other questions, I'll just say we will update you as soon as we have new information to share. I know everybody has been inundating us with inquiries. We promise that we will do our best to get out information as soon as we receive it. But thank you for your patience on that. Okay.
So these are the updated reports. On the scene, I'm sure there's loads of law enforcement personnel, loads of equipment. Hopefully the helicopters are still up in the air searching for this guy with the thermal imaging equipment that could spot him even at nighttime. Dogs, of course, we keep talking about dogs. But, here he escaped, and he's out there. He's out there in the community, and all we can hope for and wish for, and the competence of law enforcement, they're able to capture this guy and return him back behind bars where he belongs. Folks, I'm gonna call it a night now, and I appreciate all you guys tuning in. I didn't have any plans of going live tonight. I see that others have gone live with this, but these are important stories. And Kent Daigle, choppers can only see 6 feet above, but they have thermal imaging, and that can actually spot a human being on the ground from quite a distance. So, folks, if I get any new information throughout the night or tomorrow, I surely will go live again and update this case. And again, just if you're from that area, all right, Ken, Tiff Knox was the place he escaped from a privately owned prison. You know, something, apparently it was a jail and not a prison from what we're hearing. And that's why one of the reporters asked, will it be considered in the future that someone that's sentenced to life should maybe be housed in a state prison facility instead of a jail? Look, a lot of inmates that are convicted and awaiting to go up to a state prison may be housed in a jail. And Wilesy Pony, thank you so much for your expertise, Supreme Commander. Thank you for stopping by, Wilesy Pony. Always good to see you. You know, I didn't realize that Melanie was even on the air. I came on without checking, and I apologize to Melanie. I had no idea she was on the air, and I would have thought she would have went on early. I went on at like 9:30. Anyway, folks, again, thank you so much for tuning in this evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I have a show with the Nassau County Police Commissioner, Patrick Ryder, and we're going to talk about the involvement of the Nassau County Police in the investigation, apprehension, warrants, and all of that stuff on Rex Huerman, the arrested and charged Long Island serial killer. So he'll be on the show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And so I urge you to tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. Folks, have a great night. Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories, Bill Cannon. I'll see you soon.
One episode just ain't enough.